Okay, if you're an entrepreneur, you know the deal. The grind, right? The constant hustle. But what if all that effort, all that hard work, isn't actually the secret sauce for growth? Today, we're going to dig into a totally different way of thinking, based on the insights of CEO David Boice. It's a path that swaps burnout for real blueprint to freedom and scale. So let's jump right in.
And boom, right there. That's the core of this whole thing. This idea completely flips the just work harder mantra on its head. The real bottleneck isn't your drive or your ambition, it's the lack of a machine to channel all that energy. So, that leads to the big question. What is that machine?
Yeah, so that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And look, when we say systems, we're not talking about some crazy complicated software or a bunch of corporate red tape. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how you think about and run your business. Let's break it down, and we'll start with the feeling I bet a lot of you know all too well.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about something called the entrepreneur's illusion. This is the belief that just putting in more hours and having more willpower is the only way to succeed. But as we're about to see, that's a really dangerous trap.
Sound familiar? You know the feeling. It's Friday, you've been going nonstop all week, putting out fires, pushing everything forward, but you still have this nagging feeling that you're somehow behind the eight ball. Well, that feeling, it's a symptom of a much bigger problem.
And here is the big mindset shift. The problem isn't you. It's not your drive, it's not your work ethic. It's that all that amazing energy is basically getting poured into a bucket full of holes. Without structure, your hard work just leaks away.
So check this out. It really boils down to two paths you can take. On one side, you've got pure willpower. You just work harder, you muscle through every single problem. But over on the other side, you've got systems. Systems don't just add to your effort, they multiply your time. They create rules for routine stuff so you're not making the same decisions over and over. One road leads straight to burnout. The other, that's your path to freedom.
So, okay, if just grinding it out is the trap, then systems are how you get out. This is the real path to freedom. So let's really nail down what we mean when we talk about systems. Here's a good way to think about it. A system isn't just a process or a to-do list, it's the actual structure that your business runs on. It's how info moves around, how routine choices get made without you, and how everybody knows who's responsible for what. Basically, it's what turns all that chaotic hustle into predictable, steady growth.
I love this line, you can't scale chaos. It's so true. Because look, when you're just starting out, that chaotic energy, it works. It feels awesome. You're making things happen. But as you start to grow, that same chaos becomes your biggest enemy. You can't just throw more people or more money at it and expect it to work. You've got to tame it.
And really, this is the whole point. The end game isn't just a bigger business, it's a business that can run without you having to be in the weeds 24/7. That's real freedom for an entrepreneur, knowing you can step away because you built something that can stand on its own 2 feet.
All right, so how do you actually do this? How do you build it? Well, this framework gives us a super powerful 3-part blueprint. Think of them as the foundations for everything else you're going to build.
And here they are. Simple, right? First, start with a real problem that actually matters. Second, build systems, not just hyper-momentum. And third, always stay curious and be ready to reinvent. Let's break each one down.
Okay, pillar 1. This is everything. It's the bedrock. It's not about having some cool new gadget or app idea. It's about finding a real, nagging problem that people are so desperate to solve they can't just ignore it. That's where you start. This is where so many people go wrong. They start by asking, what can we build? What cool features can we add? See, this question makes it all about you and your product. It's inside-out thinking.
But this question flips everything around. Now the customer's problem is front and center. It's the star of the show. When you start asking this, you stop thinking about just adding another feature, and you start obsessing over how to deliver a complete solution, how to make their problem vanish.
Okay, so you've found that big problem, and things are starting to take off. You've got momentum. This is where pillar 2 comes in, and man, is it critical. It's that moment you realize you're not really steering the ship anymore, you're just reacting. Your whole day is spent putting out fires and answering emails instead of pushing forward.
And the answer isn't to just work harder. It's actually to slow down for a second and build some structure. You've got to map out how work actually gets done, turn those repetitive decisions into simple rules, and use shared data instead of relying on what's in somebody's head. When you do that, you get the one thing you need most, a clear, honest picture of what's really going on.
All right, this brings us to our last pillar. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all. Think about this. The biggest danger to your company might not be the competition. It might be the stuff your own people aren't saying out loud. The little frictions and broken processes that leaders never even hear about.
So, picture this. Someone on your team comes to you and says, hey, this process is clunky, or this isn't working. You've got a choice to make right then and there. You can get defensive and protect the status quo, or you can see it for what it is, free consulting. It's invaluable feedback from the people who are actually doing the work.
And all of this really boils down to one final, super important question every leader has to keep asking themselves over and over again.
You see, the whole point of being curious is to keep yourself honest. It's so easy to fall in love with your own story, with what worked yesterday, but real leadership is about what's true today. This mindset forces you to stay grounded in reality and constantly ask, what are we missing? What's changed?
So I'm going to leave you with this one last thing to chew on. Think about it. The most critical feedback you can get isn't always what people say in meetings. It's what they don't say. It's the silent workaround someone creates for a broken process. It's the hesitation before bringing up a tough topic. So the real question isn't just, what are people telling me? It's, what is my team trying to tell me with their silence?